How's it going, guys? I'm Travis Hartman with Weighing In with Travis Hartman. We are fresh off the heels of the IBF 154-pound World Championship boxing match that happened last night in Orlando, Florida on the Premier Boxing Champions, part of the Amazon Prime Video Network, broadcast globally to the world, featured IBF World Champion Bakhram Murtazaliev versus Tim Tszyu. Guys, this fight delivered for the fans. The entire card, to be fair, delivered for the fans. But I'm just going to weigh in on the main event, which was the IBF World Championship fight. Murtazaliev came out. Both guys were firing in the first round. The second round, Murtazaliev caught Tszyu a couple of different times. Tszyu went down 3 times. Didn't even flinch to get up. Got up every single time. Was seriously hurt. The bell saved him in the second round. He was able to get back to his corner, comes back out. Valiant effort. Murtazaliev ended up putting Tszyu away with a 4th knockdown in the 3rd round. And then Tszyu's team threw the towel in, rightfully so. But honestly, I was Team Tszyu. I was part of Tszyu's camp. Tszyu's camp came here and finished out their training at my gym. So obviously I'm a little bit biased. Yes, I was really rooting for those guys. I was really pulling for those guys. They're a class team. But if I'm being completely honest, in the second round, the referee could have stopped that fight. And honestly, nobody would have complained because Tszyu was still on unsteady legs. He never recovered quite from that first knockdown and just could never get it back together. And Murtazaliev did what a champion does. He just kept that pressure on, kept landing those big shots, and he finished off Tim Tszyu. So we have to give the credit where it's due, and I do believe Murtazaliev deserves that credit because what most people don't know, he's been waiting since November of 2019, guys. He's been the #1 contender for Jermell Charlo's title since November of 2019. So I just want to throw something else out there. Everybody's talking about how Canelo is ducking David Benavidez because David Benavidez has been the #1 contender for like 2 years now. Murtazaliev has waited 5 years. Literally next month will be 5 years that Murtazaliev has waited for that title shot. He's accepted step-aside money. He's accepted so many step-aside money until he finally got to fight for that vacant title against Jack Colquet, who he knocked out in the 11th round of their IBF world title fight. And that's how he was crowned the IBF 154-pound world champion. Now, this guy he's been avoided. He's obviously been dodged, and nobody talks about it because he's just not a big name. He's not a superstar, but he deserves credit for what he's done and what he's continuing to do. So I just want to make sure everybody knows the name Bakhram Murtazaliev, who is now 23-0 with 17 knockouts, and that 17th knockout was against Tim Tszyu. Now, fast forward to Tim Tszyu. A lot of people are playing Monday morning quarterback right now with his entire career, with his entire decision-making and everything. So, with that being said, I want to weigh in on that as well. Listen, Tim Tszyu just lost a world championship fight against Sebastian Fundora, one who he was actually supposed to fight, Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman got injured, pulled out. They put in Sebastian Fundora. If anybody knows that, he's 6'5", 6'6", 154 pounds, and he's a lefty. Okay, Tim Tszyu is 5'8", 5'9". Okay, so, and Tim Tszyu said, yes, let's do it. I'll fight Fundora. In the second round of that fight, Tim Tszyu suffered one of the brutalest gashes on top of his forehead from an accidental elbow. And what does Tim Tszyu do? Instead of quitting, because if anybody knows the rules, if 4 rounds have not been completed, an accidental foul happens in a fight. A boxer, if he cannot continue, it goes down as a no contest. If he continues and 4 rounds have been completed, then they will go to the scorecards. Well, this happened in the second round, and if anybody watched that fight, Tim Tszyu 100% could have not continued, and nobody would have complained. Everybody would have been like, yeah, I mean, that was a gash that was getting in his eye and all of that. But Tim Tszyu fought valiantly for 12 rounds, lost a split decision for his first ever loss as a pro against Fundora. Instead of fighting a tune-up fight, which everybody thought he should have done, he goes right into another world title fight against a very avoided guy in Murtazaliev, and he fights valiantly. Every time Tszyu got knocked down, he got back up and kept firing and kept firing. So Monday morning quarterback is everybody was like, oh, his management team is garbage. They should have done that. Tim Tszyu's overrated. Tim Tszyu shot. Tim Tszyu's this. I'm going to squash all of that. Tim Tszyu's 29 years old, lost a split decision in the world title fight against Sebastian Fundora, comes back instead of taking a tune-up, fights in another world title fight against a guy who's been avoided by Jermell Charlo, which most of you probably know that name. He's dodged Murtazaliev, and so has all the other champions because nobody wanted to fight Murtazaliev until Tim Tszyu stepped up and said, let's go. I will fight you anytime, anywhere. Fought him right here in Orlando, Florida. So here's my thinking, and I think it was a calculated risk, and I think the reward was greater than the risk. And that is talking about Tim Tszyu fighting a world championship fight in his very first fight after losing the world championship fight against Fundora. Here's the risk and reward. For me, the fighter always wants to fight, right? He does. We're fighters. I'm a former pro fighter myself. I never won a world title, so I'm not speaking on their behalf by no means. I've never been in that position. However, I'm a fighter. I fought Keith Thurman. I fought Terrence Crawford. I fought Jesse Vargas. I fought world championship fighters all the time. I was never afraid to fight one single person. 99% of boxers are not afraid to fight anybody. We're not ducking fighters. So it's never because of that. Now, I love the fact that Tim Tszyu wanted to fight Murtazaliev and fight for another world title in his first fight after getting defeated. I think the risk and reward was... The risk was, of course, he could lose. His confidence could be shot after that. But the reward would be, my team believes in me. My managers believe in me. If I win this fight, everybody's going to look at this and be like, oh my gosh, look what Tim Tszyu did. He lost to Fundora in a split decision. He comes right back and fights for the world title and wins the world title. So I liked the reward. I don't think that it was a stupid decision. I think that it was a calculated risk. And guess what? At this level, we have calculated risks. We take those every time you step in the ring. It doesn't matter. If he fights a tune-up fight, he could have possibly got beaten in a tune-up fight, and then people really write him off. So now I think that he's 29 years old. He lost massively. He got defeated pretty easily by the result. He did. Third round destruction, and that's kind of what the headlines were, and they're not wrong. I love Tim Tszyu in camp. Like I said, they trained at my gym this whole week. They were here. They're class acts. I was completely rooting for them. I was there ringside, thanks to their team. I appreciated everything they did. But I'm being honest. This game is a risk-reward game. Tim Tszyu and team rolled the dice. And you know what? Tim Tszyu, it's in his DNA. His dad is Kostya Tszyu, who we all know, who was an undisputed champion during his time, who was a great during his time, who fought the best during his time. So why not? Why would his son not want to fight the best? I love it. I love how Tim Tszyu backed himself. Tim Tszyu had the confidence to go into that fight. Tim Tszyu had the confidence to win or lose. We step into the ring. It's either our night or it's not our night. Tim Tszyu brought it. I haven't watched a Tim Tszyu fight lately that I wasn't entertained in. Even when he beat Brian Mendoza, then he fought Fundora, and then he just lost to Murtazaliev right here in Orlando. I was entertained. I want to see Tim Tszyu back again. I don't care who it's against. And that's, to me, that's the reward. The risk was, yeah, he lost. He wasn't a world champion. He'd already lost his title, or he lost that world championship level fight against Fundora, split decision, and then he comes back and he fights Murtazaliev. I think the risk was, yeah, he's going to lose. You always have that risk, right? Now people are trashing him. That's the risk too. But at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself, then you don't need to hear from the internet. You don't need to hear from all these Monday morning quarterback guys who are now coming out after the fact, telling him that he's trash, telling him that he's overrated. I don't believe that. I don't believe Tim Tszyu believes that. I don't believe his camp believes that he's trash, because he's not. He's a world championship caliber fighter. I do believe that it didn't go his way. He got caught early. He never recovered. That's the beauty and the beast of boxing. And at the end of the day, we're fighters. We know the risks going in. And here, there's two quotes that I want to leave you guys with. It's, wearing the crown means you can carry the weight. Anyone can want it, but not everyone is ready to do what it takes. That's it. I mean, you got to carry the weight of the criticisms and all of that. And also, my very last quote I want to leave, much better quote, my favorite quote. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. Tim Tszyu, you can't win them all. None of us win them all. We have bumps, we have bruises. It's the old cliche. It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back up and keep punching back. I truly believe that Tim Tszyu will get back up just like he did in this fight, just like he's done in past fights. And he will rebound, and we will see more of Tim Tszyu, as rightfully we should, because the fans deserve Tim Tszyu. The fans deserve Murtazaliev. The fans deserve the high-level fights. The fans deserve those championship caliber fights. The fans deserve fighters who want to fight the best. The fans deserve fighters who don't dodge other fighters. The fans deserve fighters and champions who don't take step-aside money and pay people off for 4, 5 years, okay? The fans deserve guys like Murtazaliev. They deserve guys like Tim Tszyu, Sebastian Fundora. They deserve champions who want to fight the best. And that's what we got last night, right on Premier Boxing Champions, right here in Orlando, Florida at the Carib Royale. We got a fantastic night of boxing. And boxing fans, they won. Thank you, Tim Tszyu, for giving us that blockbuster type of fight, that excitement, that on the edge of our seat. Thank you, Murtazaliev, for giving us all that you had, for continuing to dare to be great. Thank you, guys. As fighters, as athletes, as men, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and all of us at Weighing In with Travis Hartman. Thank you so much for what you did last night here in Orlando, Florida. I know I appreciated it. I know that the fans appreciated it. I know that there's going to be people that are negative, but that's always going to happen. So I want to leave you with that. God bless. Love you guys.